What if the secret to eternal peace isn't somewhere out there in the future, but right here in this breath, this heartbeat, this sacred instant? Stay with me as we discover the transformative truth hidden in plain sight. Kindly like and subscribe this channel, and then press the bell icon if you want to embark on a spiritual journey inspired by Dr. Wayne Dyer's insights. Hello and welcome to Creator, a spiritual and motivational teaching channel inspired by Dr. Wayne Dyer's insights, where we explore the depths of conscious living together by discussing how to live in the present moment. Before we embark on this transformative journey, I invite you to pause with me for just a moment. Take a deep, intentional breath, feeling the life force entering your body, and then release it slowly, allowing any stress or tension to melt away. Today, we're exploring one of the most revolutionary, yet ancient concepts in human consciousness, the art of living fully in this present moment. For those just beginning their journey into mindfulness and spiritual awareness, what we're about to discuss might seem unconventional at first, but I promise you it's profoundly practical and has the potential to fundamentally transform how you experience every aspect of your existence. For those already walking this path, we'll delve into deeper layers and discover fresh insights that can deepen your practice and understanding. The essence of what we're exploring today is beautifully elegant in its simplicity, yet infinitely profound in its implications. Authentic fulfillment, genuine inner peace, and a vibrant connection to life itself can only be discovered in the present moment. This teaching isn't suggesting we should ignore the wisdom gained from our experiences or abandon thoughtful preparation for what lies ahead. Instead, it's about developing the skill to free ourselves from the mental prison of dwelling endlessly on what has already passed or obsessing anxiously about what has yet to come. When we learn to fully inhabit this present moment, we unlock the door to true presence, and in doing so, we discover a powerful antidote to the anxiety, restlessness, and dissatisfaction that characterize so much of modern human experience. So find a comfortable position, take another conscious breath, and let's journey together into the extraordinary potential that exists right here, right now, in this eternal present moment. One of the primary obstacles we face on our journey toward present moment awareness is what spiritual teachers describe as accumulated emotional pain from our past. This isn't just a poetic metaphor. It's a very real energetic pattern that exists within our psychological and emotional framework. Imagine a reservoir deep within you that has been collecting unprocessed emotions throughout your life. Unresolved grief, anger that was never fully expressed, fears that were suppressed rather than faced, disappointments that were buried rather than integrated. This collection of past emotional pain doesn't simply disappear or fade away on its own. Instead, it remains alive within us, forming an energetic entity that can be activated by present circumstances. Have you ever experienced a moment where your emotional reaction to something seemed completely out of proportion to what actually happened? Perhaps someone made an innocent comment that triggered intense anger, or a minor setback sent you spiraling into deep sadness. These disproportionate reactions often signal that old emotional wounds have been touched, bringing past pain into the present moment. The first crucial step toward freedom is recognizing that these patterns exist and understanding that they represent accumulated history, not your true nature or identity. Intimately connected to this reservoir of emotional pain is what we might call the conditioned thinking mind. This isn't referring to healthy self-confidence or appropriate self-care. Rather, it's the endless internal commentary, that voice in your head that never seems to stop talking, judging, comparing, analyzing, and creating narratives. This aspect of mind constructs a false sense of identity based entirely on external factors, your possessions, accomplishments, social roles, opinions, and how you compare to others. This conditioned mind feeds on mental activity constantly generating stories about past events and spinning scenarios about future possibilities, rarely allowing you to simply rest in the peace of this present moment without commentary. Picture a television that can never be turned off, perpetually broadcasting a mixture of worries, criticisms, fantasies, and anxieties. This is the experience of living completely identified with the thinking mind, believing that you are your thoughts, rather than recognizing yourself as the awareness in which thoughts appear. The conditioned mind has a fascinating tendency to create complexity and problems where none actually exist. It thrives on drama, conflict, and perceived threats because these things give it a sense of purpose and importance. It loves to replay old grievances, maintain grudges, defend positions, and prove itself right. The mind seeks identity in the past and looks for salvation in the future, completely missing the only doorway to authentic life, which is always and only now. This doesn't mean thinking is bad or that the mind is an enemy to be conquered. Thinking is a valuable tool when used consciously for practical purposes. The issue arises when we become completely identified with thinking, believing we are the thinker, rather than the awareness that observes thinking. When you begin to see this distinction, everything changes because you've discovered that you are not trapped inside your thoughts. You are the spacious awareness in which thoughts arise and dissolve. So how do we begin breaking free from this cycle of compulsive thinking and the grip of accumulated emotional pain? The master key is developing the capacity to observe your inner world without getting entangled in it. This practice is revolutionary in its simplicity, yet challenging in its application. Start by simply noticing thoughts as they emerge in consciousness, the way you might watch leaves floating down a stream. Don't try to stop them, don't fight them, don't judge them as good thoughts or bad thoughts. Simply observe with detached curiosity. In this observation, something profound reveals itself. You discover experientially that you cannot be the thoughts themselves because you are the one observing them. There's the thought, and there's the awareness watching the thought. These are not the same thing. You are the awareness, the consciousness, the silent witness that remains constant while thoughts, emotions, and sensations come and go like weather patterns. This realization creates the first crack in the prison of identification, the first glimmer of freedom. This practice of non-judgmental observation is fundamental to mindfulness and essential for anyone genuinely seeking to understand what it means to be truly present. Another remarkably effective gateway into present moment awareness is through conscious embodiment, bringing your full attention into your physical form. Unlike your mind, which constantly time travels into past and future, your body exists only and always in the now. It has no capacity to be anywhere else. Begin by directing your awareness to the actual sensations occurring in your body at this very moment. What do you feel? Notice the points of contact between your body and whatever is supporting it. Feel the texture of that contact, the temperature, the pressure. Become aware of your breath, that constant miracle happening automatically. The rise and fall of your chest and belly, the sensation of air moving through your nostrils. Right now, as you engage with these words, take a moment to bring intense focus to your hands. What sensations are present? Perhaps warmth or coolness, tingling or pulsing, tension or relaxation, heaviness or lightness. Don't analyze these sensations or try to change them. Simply feel them with innocent curiosity. This act of bringing awareness fully into physical sensation creates an anchor point in the present moment, effectively interrupting the mind's habitual pattern of dwelling in past or future. Your body becomes a portal, a doorway through which you can access the timeless now. The breath deserves special attention as a pathway to presence. Your breath has accompanied you from your first moment in this physical form and will remain with you until your last. It's always available, always happening in the present moment, always offering an invitation to return to now. You don't need to manipulate your breathing or create special breathing patterns. Simply become conscious of it. Notice the sensation of air entering your nostrils, perhaps cooler on the inhale. Feel the expansion throughout your torso as your lungs fill. Notice the brief pause at the top of the inhalation. Then observe the release of the exhale, perhaps warmer than the inhale, and the natural pause before the next breath begins. The breath happens on its own, without any conscious effort or control required. It's one of the great mysteries, completely automatic, yet fully available to conscious awareness. When you rest your attention on your breath, you're resting in the present moment. The breath becomes a bridge from mental time into the eternal now. One of the most liberating insights available to us is understanding the difference between practical time and psychological time. Practical time, what we might call clock time, is necessary and useful. You need to know what time your meeting starts, when the train departs, how long to cook dinner. This functional use of time helps us coordinate activity and navigate the practical world. Psychological time, however, is something entirely different and is the source of most human suffering. Psychological time is when you're mentally dwelling in the past, replaying conversations, regretting decisions, wishing things had been different, or maintaining resentment about how you were treated. It's also when you're mentally living in the future, worrying about what might happen, catastrophizing potential problems, or constantly waiting for conditions to change before you can be at peace. When you're caught in psychological time, you're essentially abandoning the present moment, which is the only place life actually occurs. The past exists nowhere except as memory patterns in your mind. The future exists nowhere except as imagination and projection. The only thing that actually exists, the only reality, is this present moment. When you deeply understand this, when you see it not just intellectually but experientially, it changes your entire relationship with life. Consider this carefully. The present moment is literally all there is. You've never experienced anything outside of now. Even your memories of the past are happening now. Your thoughts about the future are happening now. There has only ever been, and will only ever be now. By returning your attention again and again to this present moment, by anchoring yourself here rather than in mental time, you begin discovering a richness and depth to life that was previously hidden. Colors become more vivid. Sounds become clearer. Sensations become more intense. A simple experience like drinking water or feeling sunlight on your skin becomes almost miraculous when you're fully present with it. This shift from living in mental time to living in the present moment is perhaps the most significant transformation available to human consciousness. It's the foundation of both genuine peace and true spiritual awakening. Another profound teaching involves learning to accept what is, exactly as it is, in this moment. This concept is often misunderstood as passive resignation or giving up on growth and change. Nothing could be further from the truth. Acceptance of what is doesn't mean you can't work to improve situations, set goals, or take action toward positive change. What it means is that you stop creating suffering by resisting what is already real. Think about this when you argue with reality. When you spend energy wishing this moment were different than it is, you create an internal war that manifests as stress, frustration, anger, anxiety, and general unhappiness. Resistance to what is might be the single greatest source of human suffering. You might be thinking, but there are things that should be resisted: injustice, cruelty, harm. The distinction is subtle but crucial. You can take powerful action to change circumstances without internal resistance. In fact, action arising from acceptance is far more effective than action arising from resistance, because it's not contaminated by emotional reactivity, unconscious patterns, or the distortion that comes from fighting reality. When you accept this moment as it is, you're not saying you like it or approve of it. You're simply acknowledging that it is what it is. Fighting with what already exists doesn't change it. It only adds suffering to the situation. From acceptance, from that place of inner non-resistance, you can then take whatever action is appropriate, but that action will be clear, conscious, and far more effective than reaction arising from resistance. This is one of the great paradoxes of the spiritual path. Acceptance is not weakness, but tremendous strength. It takes far more strength to accept what is than to resist it. And from that acceptance, genuine transformation becomes possible. Let me share another profound insight. When you're fully present, when you're completely in this moment without mental time, there are no problems. This might sound absurd at first, because we all have problems, right? But look carefully at what we call problems. A problem exists in time. It's either something that happened in the past that you're still carrying mentally, or it's something you're projecting might happen in the future. In this actual moment, stripped of mental narrative and projection, what problem do you have? Not a situation that requires attention or action, but an actual problem. If you investigate honestly, you'll find that true problems cannot exist in the present moment. There are only situations, circumstances, and sometimes actions that need to be taken. The suffering we call a problem is created by the mind's resistance and storytelling, not by the situation itself. This is a radical teaching that invites you to question one of the fundamental assumptions about human life. There's a dimension to presence that extends beyond mental stillness into what might be called the energy body or inner radiance. Beyond the physical sensations we can easily identify, touch, temperature, pressure, there's a more subtle aliveness that animates the physical form. Try this right now. Close your eyes briefly and direct your attention to the interior of your hands without thinking about them, just feeling into them. Do you notice a subtle aliveness, perhaps a gentle tingling or warmth or sense of energy? This is what teachers call the inner body, the life force that enlivens physical form. It's always present but rarely noticed because our attention is almost completely absorbed in thinking. By maintaining awareness of this inner aliveness, as you move through your day, you create a strong anchor in presence. This practice is particularly valuable during challenging situations because it keeps you grounded in now rather than getting swept away by mental, emotional storms. The inner body awareness acts like a buffer, a protective space between the situation and your reaction, allowing you to respond consciously rather than react unconsciously. In our modern culture, we've become addicted to constant activity, perpetual stimulation, and endless doing. The idea of simply being without doing anything can feel almost threatening. We feel we should always be productive, always achieving, always moving towards some goal. But there's profound wisdom in creating space for non-doing, for stillness, for what the ancient traditions called meditation or contemplation. This isn't about escaping from life or avoiding responsibilities. It's about touching something essential that exists beneath and beyond all activity. In moments of true stillness, when the mind becomes quiet and you're simply present without agenda or goal, you can access a dimension of consciousness that transcends thinking. A peace emerges that doesn't depend on circumstances. A joy arises that has no external cause. This is what you truly are beneath all the conditioned layers, not the psychological self with its history and story, but consciousness itself, aware presence, the eternal witness. Many people report that when they first try to be still, when they first attempt to simply sit in silence without distraction, it feels uncomfortable or even anxiety-producing. Thoughts seem to become louder and more chaotic. This is completely normal. It's not that meditation is creating more thoughts, it's that you're finally becoming aware of the constant mental activity that's always been happening, but went unnoticed when your attention was absorbed in external activity. The practice isn't about stopping thoughts or achieving some special state. It's simply about being present with what is, including the thinking. Over time, as you continue the practice, gaps naturally begin appearing between thoughts. These gaps, these spaces of pure awareness without content, are doorways into your essential nature. Even a few seconds of thought-free awareness can be profoundly refreshing and transformative. The transformation that comes from living in present moment awareness isn't something that happens once and is then permanently established. For most people, it's a gradual process, a patient returning to presence again and again throughout the day. You might find yourself lost in thought, reliving a past conversation or worrying about tomorrow, and then suddenly remember, oh, I'm lost in mental time again. That moment of recognition is precious. In that instant, you're present, you're aware, then you gently bring your attention back to now. Perhaps through your breath, through body sensation, through simply noticing what's here in this moment. This happens hundreds or thousands of times at first. Each return to presence strengthens that capacity, makes it more accessible, builds what we might call the presence muscle. Over time, presence becomes more natural, more established as your default state, rather than thinking being the default state. What are the core principles we've explored in this journey toward present moment living? First, recognize that accumulated emotional pain and conditioned thinking patterns are not your true identity. They're layers of history and conditioning that obscure your essential nature. Second, develop the capacity to observe your inner world, thoughts, emotions, sensations, without judgment and without identification. You are the awareness in which these phenomena appear, not the phenomena themselves. Third, use your body and breath as reliable anchors into the present moment. They are always here, always now, always available as portals into presence. Fourth, understand the difference between practical and psychological time, and practice withdrawing your energy from psychological time by focusing on now. Fifth, accept what is without internal resistance, knowing that acceptance creates the foundation for effective action and genuine peace. Sixth, recognize that problems cannot exist in the present moment. They exist only in mental time. Seventh, become aware of the subtle inner aliveness that animates your physical form. And eighth, create space in your life for stillness, for conscious non-doing, where you can touch the dimension of being that transcends form. This path we're describing isn't a quick fix or a technique you apply once and then move on. It's more like learning to live in an entirely new way, shifting from unconscious identification with mental and emotional patterns to the freedom of awakened presence. It's a fundamental reorientation from doing to being, from psychological time to the eternal now, from the false self to your true nature. The rewards of this shift are profound and far-reaching. Imagine living with much less anxiety because you're not constantly projecting catastrophic futures. Imagine the freedom of not being enslaved to every thought and emotion that arises. Imagine the peace that comes from accepting what is rather than fighting reality. Imagine the joy that emerges from being fully engaged with life as it actually is, rather than as you wish it were or fear it might become. This is the promise of present moment awareness. Not a promise of a life without challenges, but a promise of being able to meet whatever arises with clarity, peace, and wisdom. The journey we're on together in this channel, Co-Creator, is about rediscovering what we already are beneath the layers of conditioning, story, and identification. We are not creating something new. We're removing the obscurations that hide what has always been true. Your essential nature is consciousness itself. Awareness, presence. It's not something you achieve or attain. It's what you are when you stop identifying with what you are not. Every spiritual tradition throughout history has pointed toward this same fundamental truth, using different language and symbols, but pointing to the same reality. You are not the separate, limited, isolated self you've been conditioned to believe you are. You are the infinite awareness in which all experience appears, the presence that witnesses all, but is not limited by anything it witnesses. Take this moment right now to pause in your reading or listening. Close your eyes gently if you feel comfortable doing so. Take a deep, conscious breath, feeling the miracle of respiration happening within you. As you exhale, let go of any tension in your body, any worry in your mind, any resistance to this moment. Bring your attention fully to the felt sense of your body existing here in space. Notice whatever sensations are present without judging them as pleasant or unpleasant. Simply feel. Notice the stillness that exists beneath the surface activity of thoughts and sensations. This stillness, this aware presence, this consciousness that's reading these words right now, this is what you truly are. This is your connection to the eternal now, to the source and substance of all that is. Rest here for a moment in simple being, free from the need to do or become anything. This is home. This is peace. This is what we've been seeking all along, and it's been here all along, hidden only by our attention being elsewhere. If this exploration has resonated with something deep within you, if you felt even a moment of recognition or peace while engaging with these ideas, please show your support by giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing to Creator for more content on mindfulness, presence, spiritual awakening, and conscious living. Share this message with others who might benefit from these teachings. Together, we're creating a community of awakening beings, supporting each other in remembering our true nature and living from presence rather than from the conditioned mind. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your presence. And remember, this moment, right now, is all there is. And when you're fully here for it, it's infinitely more than enough. You are not separate from life. You are life itself, becoming aware of itself in this beautiful form you call yourself.